Hello. This is the 44th Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 2222, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast. So, another week, another episode. We're really happy with the feedback we're getting from our listeners.
It's some positive stuff.
So, for those listen to the first time, we are recording this podcast in the year 2222. We speak about a tech topic every week. And if you hear the episode, we ask you to let us know.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and we ask you to let us know by sending an email to us. Sending an email to the address michaellasagna5@gmail.com and putting in the subject the number of the episode that you're listening to, in this case, number 44.
And we're asking you this because we still consider episode a test, hence the name, yep. Test from the Future, because it's not trivial to send podcast episodes back 200 years.
We're doing it. It seems we're doing it reliably now, but we want to know if at some point it stops working. And the way we imagine we'll know is if we stop receiving emails.
Yeah, and also it's of course a really nice trick to get people to reply.
That too.
So you're really helping us. So as I mentioned, we speak about the everyday technology from our day and age. For us, daily stuff. For you, science fiction. We've mentioned a lot of different things the last couple of episodes. And we've also mentioned a few companies. So we thought we'd do an episode about the top 10 big tech companies of 2222.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see, or you'll see, I guess. Maybe some of these companies already exist 200 years ago. Some of them maybe you've never heard of.
Yeah, exactly. And some of them you may have already heard of in previous episodes, because
right.
if
we've spoken about them or at least mentioned them.
Yeah, exactly. We're living in a pretty tech-heavy world, so there's a lot of companies to choose from. So we picked the top 10, and we thought we will alternate.
Yep.
Simon mentions one, I mention one, and we explain a little bit what they do.
Some of them will have a lot to say, some of them not so much, but these are the top 10 big tech companies of 2222.
Yeah, and maybe if you're an avid listener, you can kind of now take 5 seconds to guess which companies could be on this list. Mm-hmm. Will it be this company? So, okay, done guessing. Then
now you're going to find out if you're correct.
You want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. So the first company on the list is Volkswagen VinFast, VVF or VVF in English, mixing up the German a bit there. They make cars and space shuttles.
So they're half German, half Vietnamese, right?
I think so, yeah. And we live in Frankfurt, so that's why I'm leaning toward the German pronunciation.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah. Vietnam is pretty far away from here.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting combination, cars and space shuttles. But if you think about it, it's not that different, right?
They're things you go inside of to take you from one place to another.
You know what they started with? Did they start with cars or with space shuttles?
I guess space shuttles would make most sense, and then cars as like a luxury item later on.
Yeah, okay, when the teleporters, when they needed... Yeah, okay, basically, there's basically small space shuttles.
Yeah, small space shuttles that can't go into space. Makes more sense that you start with the more complicated thing and then make the simpler one later to sell like at a cheaper price to expand the market of your product.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. The space station next door to your place, the one that they built a while ago.
Refurbished, yeah.
Did they build that too?
It's got their logo up there. I don't know if they actually built it directly or if they just put a bunch of money up. Sponsored isn't really the word. If they invested in it or whatever.
Or maybe they're building the space shuttles that are taking off from there, but maybe not the station.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there's involved so much in infrastructure like that. No, I think they really focus on the vehicles.
Okay. So did you have you driven in VVF cars?
Yeah. I don't. So this maybe is not such a great attitude. Well, okay, so some tech I care about more than others, yeah?
Yeah.
And cars are something I'm not so interested in. It felt like a nice car. It took me from one place to another. I don't remember much more about it. For yourself, have you noticed anything like unique about them, special about them?
I mean, it's like I'm particularly attracted to the design. as like what kind
Okay.
of car is it, and what they do with it, how does it look like, and so on.
Okay,
But
so
it's
not from the inside of it, but how it looks on the outside.
no, exactly, and they are basically building. I think they are the market leader when it comes to cars. So they have 50% of the cars or so are built by them, but not designed. It's like if you are in a car that looks like a shark, it's a VVF car, but the actual shark look is just done by some other third company.
Okay. They outsource the what would it be, the look of it,
Exactly, or the company.
the appearance,
Yeah, that's right. Or the company that is basically
the skin.
organizing the shark cars, they just buy like the VVF skeleton
Right.
and then just added something to it.
Yeah.
I guess. I'm not also too big on cars, so maybe we go to number 3.
Yeah, let's get to something we are more interested to talk. So this is the top 10 list, not necessarily our top 10 favorites.
Exactly, and it's also in kind of like random
Yeah.
order. Second one on the list is Greencell. We must have mentioned them before because they make teleporters and other kind of larger machines. But it's basically the teleporters that make them big. So they're also a market leader in teleportation. I think they're Brazilian. I'm not really sure. But maybe I think they're Brazilian because they have an exclusivity deal with Brazil. Like, you can only teleport to Brazil through a Greencell teleporter, for example.
Yeah.
So that's I don't think there's
Not much more to say.
no.
You go into Brazil, you'll see their name, of course, everywhere, but it's not the kind of product. So some products on this list, they're the thing that you buy yourself as an individual. And other things like this, it's more like infrastructure. So then it's not really that you have so much of a choice.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think like they make other machines. I think they used to make elevators.
Okay. Space ones?
They might have. Didn't they build the escalator?
Escalator, not elevator. I got it mixed up. I'm not sure.
But
But it would fit with...
Yeah, exactly. It would fit because so far the teleporters don't work in space, right? So they're working on that. So there's a lot of teleportation companies that are trying to crack that. Yeah, because the moment we leave our atmosphere, somehow it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But that company that cracks this, that managed to suddenly...
Right, it seems like, at least so far, teleportation technology needs an atmosphere through which to move.
Yeah.
And I know there are some companies looking at basically making this is going to sound strange, but like tunnels of atmosphere from here, for example, to the moon. So that you could teleport to the moon through this relatively thin, narrow tunnel of air.
Because they tried, you have space stations, and of course the moon base, the Mars base, and so on, they all have atmosphere within them, but
there needs to be
in between
as well.
That's the hypothesis.
The other, so not actually practical. Obviously, if there was no vacuum in space, we'd have all kinds of other issues. But teleportation would work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I know they're working on that. So at the moment, they're market leader. But if one of the competition cracks that, of course, they're gonna be having a whole new area to be monopolizing.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next one.
Yeah.
Next company on the list is Faceplant. Faceplant manage personal assistants, and they also manage lens infrastructure and other connected devices.
Yeah, so all virtual worlds and everything that needs some sort of technology to connect. They have a bit of a dubious standing.
Yeah. They're one of the companies I avoid because of their privacy policies. Things like that. So I don't get my lenses from them, for example. But my understanding is they were one of the leaders in that. Leaders is the word? One of the first companies to develop that tech.
Yeah, and they're apparently been around for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think they even changed names sometimes.
It's possible, yeah. But I think Faceplant is what I've always known them as.
Yeah, same here. And the thing is, they have some sort of the lens infrastructure, but actually the actual lens production, I think you can have many different partners.
Sure.
But for example, with personal assistants, this is kind of regulated, government regulated, but they are the company managing the whole infrastructure behind it, personal assistants. So there's on the one hand, they there's no way to avoid them when
Mm-hmm.
you use your PA, and everybody uses their PA.
Yeah.
On the other hand, because it's kind of government regulated, it has this maybe feel of don't worry about it. You know, the government is involved. It should be fine.
Sure.
But not everybody likes that.
Not everyone, no.
Shall I just move on?
Yeah, I think so.
Next company on the list is Ribnitz 7. I'm not sure where they're from. They make robots.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's say small machines is the category, is basically all machines that are not sentient.
Okay. So they do make robots, but they also make non-sentient machines.
Exactly. So it's basically they. If you listen to the previous episodes, you know robots are sentient beings. They're part of society. They are independent. They are their own. And making a new robot is now regulated. Like this needs to be approved. You cannot make a robot anymore because you basically create a sentient being. It's the same as for us humans to make a baby. But if you as a robot want to make another robot, or as a human, then it's Ribnitz 7, one of the companies that does this.
Yeah.
And it's actually run by a robot.
Ah, nice. Founded as well?
It's actually founded.
Founded and run.
Yeah.
Same robot, do you know?
I don't know, but I'm thinking now maybe Ribnitz 7 was maybe the name of the robot.
Yeah. So it's like a company named after its founder.
Yeah, could be. You know, I think that is actually the case. Yeah, so it's actually run by a robot. I think it's not just robots working there. But yeah, after the Robot Independence Act, there was all kinds of stuff that needed to be organized. You could not just make robots. So there were many, many different companies making those. And because it suddenly needed to be regulated, you know, a lot of smaller companies just couldn't handle this. So it became bigger companies. And I think this was, they were obviously one of the most successful ones because they're in our...
Because they're in the top 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Next company is called Jårk. It's a big player in the energy. Well, yeah, one of the major players in the energy industry.
Yeah.
They're the one in charge of the infrastructure on Mercury, the solar panels over half of Mercury that convert the sun's energy into electricity that's then beamed back to Earth.
Yeah. And they're officially not having a monopoly because there's many energy companies.
On the distribution side, like once it gets back to Earth, definitely. But in terms of on the collection side, on Mercury itself, it's all them.
It's just them, yeah. They have like a massive labor force there, well-paid robots.
Yep. Solar-powered robots.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think you mentioned Jårk.
Yeah. It's the way you put it. It's spelled a bit unclear, yeah, like with that symbol over the.
I always say Jårk, but
Jårk.
I also don't really know how it's pronounced. I know a lot of people say Jårk, but I think it's also because
they're they charge a lot of money for them. There's no competition for them, so every year, you know, the energy prices go a little bit higher, and you're like, how's it going higher? Surely the company's costs are decreasing over time because they've built the infrastructure and they've just got maintenance, but somehow it goes up each year.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, energy is not really a problem. Like, there is always energy available, but it's like with Faceplant, they have a dubious standing. With Jårk or with Jårk, not so much, but it's just this uneasy feeling of
too much
dependence.
Too much dependence on one company.
Yeah, it's like if they get in bad hands, which they're not, you know, they do a lot of stuff for the community and so on. But yeah, that's always worrying. Yeah. Okay, then number 6 we are at.
I think so. Yeah.
Gebrselassie. It's an Ethiopian company. They are mostly known for their food conglomerators. They also make a lot of different 3D printers, for example, and other stuff. But like they're mostly known for their food conglomerators. So I think your Congo is Monchol.
Yeah,
and mine is Greencell, which they're not known for at all. But they have they're the market leader, and they're really good with, you know, subscriptions and recipes and celebrity endorsements and so on. And
so not just the product itself, but all the other stuff around it.
Yeah, exactly. Do a lot of stuff for the community as well. So it's like with every meal you make, 1 cent goes to some sort of good cause,
Mhm.
like robot buddy programs or
Mhm.
whatever. In my particular case, hearing the name Gebrselassie already makes me hungry a little bit,
Mhm.
because you associate them with good food. Even if I don't even have a Congo by
Mhm.
Gebrselassie, if you hear the name, you go like,
They've really been successful with their marketing.
yeah,
That it links it in your mind with that.
and
Being hungry.
and also they have a lot of like their own patented recipes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Gebrselassie fried rice, for example. Everybody knows what you mean with that.
Mhm.
And there's fried rice, and there's Gebrselassie fried rice. And because you
Right.
have patented, you cannot get it if you have a Greencell Congo.
Right,
So
right.
I can't make it. For
No,
example.
no. The only way is to either have one of theirs, one of their Congos, or to visit a friend who does.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have restaurants as
Sure.
well. And then
Yeah.
the restaurant is basically serving food that's made by Gebrselassie Congos.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
number 7.
Olivaw make lenses, orjones, and also other human enhancement accessories.
What's it stand for, Olivaw?
I don't think I think it's a name. I don't think it stands for
Something with olive?
Okay, that would make sense.
Olivaw.
Olivaw. Sure, yeah.
I know,
It's a V, yeah.
It's funny, it's like a name everybody knows, but now if we're going through this list, now you start thinking, what does it even mean? Is it also somebody's name, or is like a
Right,
abbreviation or something?
like Ribnitz. It's not all in capitals. I'm going to assume it's a name.
I like it, but like we put in a lot of effort in getting this list together, but we could have even done more and figured out.
Could have, but right, they don't make lens. For just as an example, Faceplant, they make manage rather the lens infrastructure. Olivaw have nothing to do with that, but they make the lenses themselves.
Oh yeah,
I mean, several other companies do, of course, but they're one of the most successful ones.
Yeah. And also they also make orjones. I think we had a
Yep.
episode about this a few episodes
Yeah,
ago.
right. And if you have like both your lens and your orjones from that same company, there's certain niceties to the compatibility between the two.
I think they also tried to make cyborg chips, but
I think it didn't work out.
no. We'll get to a company that makes them later down in the list.
Yep.
Okay, I can continue.
Mm-hmm.
Next one on the list, number 8, Kellogg's.
Mm-hmm.
So they are mostly known for games and
Mhm.
sports,
Mhm.
kind of the same. Apparently they're super old.
Mhm.
Apparently they've been around for centuries, so maybe they've already been around in the time where the listeners
Right,
are.
200 years ago. Yeah.
So Kellogg's, I'm not sure like if they've always done games and sports, but that's definitely what they're now.
What their focus is now.
Exactly. And of course, like tech companies, how is this tech? Maybe we can do an episode about our games and sports at some point, but
Right, I mean, they all involve tech.
exactly. It's like you have some games that are still kind of physical, but everything around it is tech. Like detection if you commit a foul or if you scored a goal, or if like when you play football and you kick the ball out of the field and it automatically bounces back. All kinds of technology like that is at one point like all sports and games are technological, but there are also games and sports that have technology as their base. Swaveball, for example, or
Right.
Yeah, so that's Kellogg's. Number 9.
Yep, AliBaba. You mentioned earlier, so cyborg chips is one of the main things they make, and the apps for them. They also make clones, and they manage the global currency, the UNO.
Yeah, I think we mentioned the UNOs before. I'm not really sure why a company is managing the global currency, to be honest. But
right, rather than it being government
yeah,
controlled.
maybe they just outsourced it. They also are running AliPedia. Just basically the the global knowledge database that everybody uses to look things up. It's basically where we get most of our information from. So whenever you send us a question or we explain a certain topic, half the time we don't really know, and we check
off the top of our head.
Alipedia, yeah. So also if you send us questions, like I think Gustav once asked which iPhone model are you on, we just basically check Alipedia.
Yeah, and there was no mention of it, so
then it must have been super minor.
Yeah.
Because they really have all kinds of things.
Last one on the list.
Yeah, so number 10 is Iceland. It's a former country, apparently. And I think they were the first country that basically changed from a democracy to be a corporation. I can't remember. I think they were the first. And I can't remember the reason, but there was some sort of like political reason or practical reason, or maybe they went bankrupt, or I don't know. And a few countries followed, but they were the first ones. And it's basically a corporation now, so it's not led by like a president or a chairman or whatever. It's basically, or actually,
a chairman would work. Yeah,
it's actually a chairman. Yeah, but it's not like
but
king,
of a board. King. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly, and not like ministers, but a board and. Yeah, exactly. So they've also adapted specific things that were applicable to Iceland. You know, we had the global cooling for a while, where Earth started to get colder, and Iceland is a very Nordic country, so this has always been pretty cold. And they've basically used that as a benefit, where a lot of our big machines need cooling. So they kind of went in this area, so they
the people who live there in Iceland, they can use the excess heat to warm their homes and such, and the computers or whatever can stay cool.
Yeah, exactly. So they have like massive amounts of quantum T computers now. They have just fields like the inner of the island. It's an island. Is basically uninhabited, and they just have fields and fields of quantum T computers there. Used to be quantum S, and before that used to be quantum R, and so on. So it's just the advancement of the technology, and just replace them. And because it's cool, they are there. But they're also famous for making hubs, so gathering hubs. So
like for when you need to meet with your colleagues at work.
Yeah, exactly. So their hubs are, of course, all over the world, but apparently Iceland started this kind of concept, and then they specialized in it. So whenever you need a hub built, it's usually Icelandic workers, people, robots that basically get deployed, make hubs. So that's it.
That's the top 10.
Top 10.
Big tech companies from 2022.
Do you have any closing, any surprising companies missing? Or companies that used to be in the list, but they kind of dropped out?
I mean, we didn't have them written down, and so they have escaped my memory.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Then I would say that's it for this week. But maybe we can do some user questions.
Yep, sounds good. I see here. Hey, it's an email from Michael. But it doesn't say Michael Lozano, it just says from... so the email address... I'm not going to read the whole email address here, but the name is just Michael.
Okay.
So we don't know if it is Michael
Lozano. So maybe
Lozano.
it's Michael Lozano
Could
emailing
be.
himself.
But either way, the question is... So, okay, it's probably not Michael Lozano, because rather than asking us a question about what we're doing, his question is, which bands do you like?
Cool. We did mention bands, I think, in the in one of the previous episodes.
I think so.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I can say... I mean, my 3 favourite bands are TerraVision, Incubaba, and the last one is Cracking Gourds.
Cracking Gourds?
Cracking Gourds. He didn't ask why. These are the bands we like. I mean, these are the bands I like. I listen to their music. So how did I find this out? I looked, checked, okay, what's the bands I've been listening to most recently?
Oh, yeah.
These 3 bands have had some nice albums out lately.
Okay, Cracking Gourds. Like the other ones I've heard of.
Yeah.
Incubaba, aren't they having like these massive shows when they play?
When they play, yeah. They don't play so often anymore, but when they play, it's really an occasion.
Okay. And
but Cracking Gourds, you haven't heard of?
Or is that the old robot band? Is that them? Is it them?
No, that's TerraVision. TerraVision.
Okay, they are. Band. Okay, cool. For me, it's Coldplay. And apparently, it's one of the oldest bands that are still there. Apparently,
have been playing the longest, like uninterrupted, I guess.
Yeah. It's apparently not the oldest. Apparently, the Beach Boys are the oldest.
Ah, okay.
But they've been around for a long time. So it's not the original, band members anymore.
No.
So they basically, it's like they even had at one point they had a show, where you could basically apply for being the new Coldplay band member. I really like Clocks, and
it's a song or an album or
both,
uh-huh.
and Moonlit Night. This is I think this is from 2 years ago.
Oh, okay, yeah, much more recent.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so Clocks is older. I don't know from when it was.
Yeah.
I also really like their O Den Haag. I think they had different versions of this. I think it's kind of like a tradition. O Den Haag.
Yep.
It's a city in the Netherlands apparently where it's named after.
Yep.
And they have like a yearly tradition where they play there on solstice. Solstice.
Cool. The winter one or?
Good point. One of them.
Maybe both.
Maybe both. Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
changes.
I like that tradition.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's where they got the song from, or that's where they played the song. Anyway, Coldplay, Old, and for you it was the other three bands.
Yeah. Hope that answers your question, Michael.
Yeah, it was a really fun question actually. Thanks. Okay, I would say before we close, Simon, I saw the next Mercury Blackout was announced.
Right.
And it's on Tuesday evening.
This coming Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
He usually plays Waveball then, so I guess I'll have to postpone that.
Yeah, I think without power, that's not going to work.
No.
Yeah, so... Okay, anyway, so for our listeners, not so relevant for us, Tuesday evening Mercury Blackout, which means we won't have power for a while, so I guess I'll let Napoleon
Should
know.
be fine by Wednesday morning.
Yeah, but I'll let Napoleon know because he will need to charge up front.
Beforehand, yeah. Oh. Not to rely on being able to charge then.
Okay, I would say that's it for this week. Thanks for listening and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.